Please turn to page 24. We're still on movie scripts, but what I've added in your book is for students who are more advanced, or if your class is progressing along in the year in movie scripts and you want to kick it up a notch, what I've added is actions and reactions. The previous movie scripts was walking through actions, giving students the understanding of the secret formula SC TC for their beginning, middle, and end sentences. Once they become proficient, master those skills, you can add reactions. That's where we're going to add dialogue or thoughts into these movie scripts. On the next two pages, pages 24 and 25, I will walk through how you can go back and add this into your movie script lessons. On day 1 and 2, you will begin with 3 pictures. Remember, I told you that in the movie scripts with actions only, you will eventually give children either 2 pictures, 1 pictures, or no pictures, and they will plan their own movies. But when you're coming back and you want to add actions and reactions, you're going to do this whole group, so you want to just have 3 pictures already on the top boxes. Notice we will have the 3 pictures. We'll go through and just discuss what's on each one. We're not forming sentences yet. There's a cowboy, it's daytime, he's out in a meadow, and he's herding his cattle. Then he hears some sort of loud noise, and it looks like a calf had fallen in a hole. He pulled the calf out of the hole, and it was safe. After reviewing what was happening in each picture, we then went to our vocabulary wall, and in this case, we only found 1 vocabulary word that actually would fit into this story, and the word was dangerous. Sometimes you're going to have many, sometimes not many will fit. What's exciting about that is children learn to be precise when they choose vocabulary words. Again, sometimes every box will be filled and sometimes it won't. After selecting the vocabulary words, then we move down to our second set of boxes where we have our beginning, middle, end, so that we can translate the picture into an action sentence and a reaction sentence, and that's where we have our dialogue. What you'll notice in the bottom box here is we have our setting, character, action, and then we had a reaction. When is this happening? The sun rose brightly. Where? Over the majestic mountains. Who's doing the action? A cowboy. Action, what did he do? He herded his cattle in a meadow so they could graze on the juicy grass. We went back, we said our sentence, we put it in our SC arrow format, added fancy words so that we could have some descriptive language, formed our sentence, it sounded really good. Once we had that action for the beginning, we can have a reaction where the character will say or think about what just happened. When children first learn dialogue, they tend to have dialogue that doesn't match the story or it goes on and on. We want a reaction. We want to use dialogue to react to what's going on in the story. We have the character here now saying something that matches the action in the story. So now I'll say to the children, we know that the cowboy herded his cattle in the meadow so that they could have juicy grass. What would the cowboy be saying in that context? So as he's herding the cows, what would he be saying? And the children and I came up with, hee-yaw, move, move. When we wrote out what the cowboy was saying, we started with our quotation marks, and we always say, quotation marks, they go around the talking part. The cowboy said, yee-yaw, move, move. And we practiced that. Hee-yaw, move, move. So we start with our quotation mark and end with a quotation mark around the talking part. We practice that, we go to the bubble, and we write in the dialogue right there in the bubble. With the quotation marks, all of the mechanics is put right there. So now you're embedding a lesson about quotation marks into this lesson, and the students, when they go to write, will already have that in their writing because they planned that on this organizer. After you say what the cowboy said, you could have just said the cowboy yelled, or if you want to add more, you could add in this marker. So the marker is the part that you say before the dialogue, like he shouted, If you want to be more sophisticated, you can include in the marker, describe, tell, or use 5 senses. This is how you're going to give the reader more information that will make them understand what's going on in the story. Describe, this is when you use facial expressions and what the body of the character who's talking is doing to reveal even more about how they're feeling or to reveal what's going on in the story. So in this case, if the cowboy was saying yee-yaw, what did his face look like? What was his body doing as he was yelling yee-yaw? Bouncing up and down in his saddle, the cowboy shouted, yee-yaw, move, move. Or with his lasso spinning around and around above his head, the cowboy shouted, yee-yaw, move, move. Or you could use emotions to say how he feels. In other words, excited and pleased, the cowboy shouted, yee-yaw, move, move. Another technique is using the 5 senses, revealing what's going on around the cowboy. So you could say something like, as the cows mooed with pleasure eating the grass, the cowboy shouted, move, move, hee-yaw. What you're doing basically is you're showing kids how they don't need to just say the cowboy yelled, they could add more to that marker. This is not something that you need to do in this activity, but if you wanted to add a little more sophistication, it's another way to show children how they can reveal more about their characters or the story through this technique. Finally, you'll also notice that we continue through the same process after they have planned their story, orally rehearsed it, acted it out over and over. What do? They're going to write it out. And then they will circle the beginning. They will circle the end and label beginning. What's left in the middle is the middle, and then we have our end. Then they will go back, and in the beginning, they will have SC arrow, and then a reaction. In the middle, TC arrow, reaction. So notice the dialogue bubble for reaction. And in the end, TC arrow with the dialogue bubble. So now they're not just labeling the sequence, that it's in the right order with the ideas of beginning, middle, and end, but also those secret formulas and techniques like actions and reactions. Finally, on the last day, you can have students take their phrases, like their when phrase, the sun rose brightly, and put that on the when anchor chart. Over the majestic mountains, that could go on the where anchor chart. Different transitions that the students have can be put up on the transition anchor charts. Movie scripts with actions and reactions will continue that process of building powerful sentences with robust vocabulary, but now you'll include dialogue that actually is going to react, which teaches children how to write dialogue that will reveal a character reacting to what's going on in the story. Children now will have a lengthier movie script and they will have more skills that they're building. When we move on to the writing lessons, you will be thrilled at how well your students will create these types of sentences in those lessons. I hope you enjoy the movie script. You will find this will create a fun and exciting time in your classroom, and it's a precursor to all the skills students need for my narrative writing lessons. Enjoy.